All right. Well, here we are. It's 3:30 on Friday, and as half expected, Friday's probably a terrible afternoon on Friday is probably a terrible time to meet because everybody wants to get off on the weekend. But it's all the time that I had available to meet this particular time. So I'm going to get underway. If anybody else adds to the list, then we'll do as we do. So, in the short term here, I'm going to speak for a little bit and we'll try to add some value to the members because this will be posted um, later in the day to the ad agency. So, I'm Mike Farley, and behind me here in my great expanse, um, let's see if I can give you a little quickie tour. You can see how messy things are. I've got a 10 by 20-foot office, kind of a cool little office, nothing special, fairly inexpensive. I am a solopreneur. I am a consultant, brand consultant for the last 20, 30 years. I used to be an agency guy at a bigger agencies in Minneapolis, helped with a number of agencies here in Milwaukee, ran my own design firm, then joined another ad agency in Chicago. 9/11 happened. The world changed for so many of us, but anybody in marketing don't mean to make light of 9/11 in any way. It was a game changer for everyone, pretty much in the world. But for marketing people, it was especially nasty from a business perspective because clients became very protective of cash. And so projects that had been underway all sort of came to a halt as people weren't sure what to make of it all. And I got caught up in that with this agency in Chicago. We lost a $1.5 million client within about 2 weeks. And that certainly changed things. And I had to fire about 20 people. That's the absolute worst time of my life. But you go through that hell and you come out the other side and hopefully stronger and wiser and better. And I think that that's exactly what did happen. And the people that were let go have managed to find their way as well. It's a tough way to join the world, to have what was a really good job and be really excited. Next thing you know, there just isn't the work. So I wanted to chat a little bit about that. If you're in an agency right now, it's kind of a fickle time. Obviously, typically when new administrations, political administrations come, there is some uncertainty. The markets and everything else like stability. And so when there's an upset in the apple cart that way, and it really doesn't matter which side, whether it's Democratic, Republican, or what have you, just everybody's sort of uncertain as to what it might mean. And so clients oftentimes become a little bit more protective of their budgets. And so you have to kind of find your way through that. And so one of the things I'm here to say, especially for people who are like me or want to be like me and go off on their own, I cannot stress enough to you the idea of continually trying to search for new business, continually networking, continually staying in touch with people. Um, it's and it's hard for many of us because we like being on the board. We like doing the work. We like coming up with the headlines or the visuals or the graphics or the logos or whatever it might be. And the business part of it sometimes can be kind of tough. But I like to change that by um, I a couple different things as far as how do you go and get new business? Well, the first adage is if times are a little bit tough or you suspect that they might, then go to where you know that it exists, which is already your existing clients. Go and talk to them, call them on the phone, get them on a Zoom call. Zoom call is a really nice one because they kind of feel protective and distant, and they can jump away whenever they want. But just ask the question, hey, I'm slowing down here a little bit. Is there anything else that I can do to assist you? And sometimes it's like, oh yeah, that's right. We got these three other little projects here. Why don't you take one of those on? Other times, like, nope, I don't have anything. That's okay. Don't play desperate, even if you are. But just kind of say, all right, great. I'll be back in touch with you in a week or two's time. Is that okay? And frankly, if you can be more specific than that, it's like, yeah, I'll call you next Thursday just to check. I'm gonna be out of town, but when I come back, I just like to check in. And normally they'll say yes, of course. And that way you've actually got a little bit of a date. And if they miss it, maybe on purpose, you still have a reason to continue to call them. So that's number one, go with where the work actually is. The next one is where was it? you've had a number of different clients and maybe some that have been sitting around for a year or two that you have not spoken to in a while. Why not pick up the phone and just say, hey, we had a really good thing going. And just curious to know, I'd still love working with you if you'd have me. And you'll be surprised. Some people may bite on this. Like, you know what? When we let go of you, I'm not even sure why we let go of you, kind of thing. And so that's another way to pick up some work. Another one is, who is it? Ultimately, who is it that you know? Who is it that you know that knows somebody else? And let them know that you're interested. Hey, here we go. Brian's going to jump on here. And we'll pick up more on that as we go. Hey, Brian.
How are you doing?
How are you?
Great. I missed your last call, so
That's
figured I'd do
okay.
this one.
That's okay. Right now, it's just you and I. We'll see if anybody else comes on. I was just remarking, I start yapping whether anybody's here or not because I record it, and there might actually be a nugget or two in here.
Always good practice, right?
What I think the biggest mistake is 3:30 on a Friday
You
afternoon.
think, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where are you?
Z2 Marketing, so out in Waukesha.
Okay,
So,
okay, not too far away.
in the office.
Yes, I see. Palatial. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I've got my Rock'em Sock'em robots there ready in the background.
Always great to have. How long did it take you to get your background set up?
Not long. The
Yep.
little green screen thing is kind of a fun little tool that just attaches right to the back of the chair. And so
Mm-hmm.
if I want
Oh,
to
I
do
see
a
that.
quickie iMovie green screen, it works pretty well. Um, Otherwise, just use I used to always use the Zoom green screen filters, and I thought, screw it, I'll just show what's there. Tell me a little bit. You've been inside the ad agency now for a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh, Tell me very honestly, are you finding things that are helpful to you?
Oh yeah, the interviews.
Yeah,
Love that stuff
yeah,
because, like I said, I'm trying to get my way into one of those bigger ones downtown, but not always accessible. But seeing you kind of unwrap them is a whole lot easier than trying to get them on an email. So
yep, yep. And the thing is, and if I can ask, I probably HR managers will curse me if I do, but it's like, how old are you?
25, I mean 26 in September, so
And so you've been a copywriter for how long?
3 years, going
Okay.
on my fourth.
And
So
where'd you go to school?
Milwaukee, so
Okay.
UWM.
At UWM.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
I
first
found
job
that.
was down in Texas as a
Okay.
junior. It
Okay.
was a in-house, so it was really slow, and I was like, well, I want to kind of be pushed more with more projects. So I said, okay, I got to go to an agency. So
Yeah.
came back up here to Milwaukee.
Well, my whole point in doing this was to help somebody just like you figure out, how do I move up? How do I get what I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking for? And frankly, sometimes you're not sure what you're looking for, or you think you are, and then you realize your life takes a very different path. Mine certainly did, but um, they're kind of all good. If I think if you just keep open to it, and
Mm-hmm.
what I'm hopeful here in the ad agency is that, again, like I said in the intro, the people I know all of a sudden become the people you know, even whether it's
Mm-hmm.
by osmosis or something else. But I try to put the LinkedIn link in there to these guys, and not that they want to be hounded, but I think you'd be surprised at how amenable almost everybody is to jumping in.
Sure.
And so here we've got Denise coming in here. Did you watch? I interviewed Denise.
Don't think I got to Denise's yet.
Okay.
Those things are an hour long.
Hey, Denise, how are you?
Hey, I was just coming to see who was here.
Yeah, well,
Everyone.
yeah, it might be
Everyone. You
everybody.
are everyone, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Brian's a copywriter over in Waukesha. So right now it's a Wisconsin kind of thing. We'll see whether some of my international bodies
If Alvin gets in,
make the trip. Um, and Denise has her own little podcast that I shouldn't say little. That sounded demeaning. I don't disparage anyone.
It
And
is kind of little low.
you've got a new name. You've got
Yeah,
new
we changed
energy.
our name this week.
Give the plug of the podcast.
Oh, severely unspecial.
And
Sounds amazing.
why is it so severely unspecial?
Well, this is like our 30th podcast.
Yeah, you've been
We had one that was Monday Meetings podcast, because we would talk for an hour on our Monday meetings, and sometimes it was pretty interesting before we ever got to what we had to do this week. So we
Sure.
started recording them and then posting them, and we got fans, and we thought we were pretty witty and funny. And so severely unspecial means it's an integration of psychological heuristics
Okay.
into a chat where one of us will complain about something, and it's like, oh, there's a heuristic for that. You're not normal. Or we're going to go into Myers-Briggs. We're going to do things like that because we're marketers and we know how to persuade, and we use all those things. So,
Sure.
But it's in the context of, hey, what'd you do this weekend?
But you stayed pretty consistent every week doing that.
We did.
Yeah.
We
That's
liked
great.
it. It was fun.
I think that's the key, right? Is just to show up. And I've been trying to do that, whether anybody shows on this or not. God help us in this industry. I somehow am able to keep flapping my lips, whether anybody's listening or not. So we'll see. And I'm very pleased to see you sitting upright. So Brian's been watching some of the interviews. I don't think he's gotten to you yet, but when you meet up with Denise was like a day or two after having hip surgery.
Oh no, it wasn't a day or two. Trust me, I was in the hospital for 2 months, but I still was in bed when I did it. But I'm in a chair now.
You were a trooper, so I know.
I'm in a chair, a recliner.
There you go. We'll take you. Hey, so I don't want these to be super lengthy, which is really hard for me to do, but quite honestly, we've got Brian here, and Brian is very much the kind of person that you or I, Denise, are seemingly wanting to help. He is about 3 years into this. He's in his mid-20s. He went to UWM. He's a copywriter out in Waukesha. What's the name of the marketing company?
D2 Marketing.
D2 Marketing. I'm not familiar with them. Are you familiar with them? No. Yeah. And
small.
That's just the thing. It's like, there's
a lot of little agencies out there now. There never used to be that kind of thing, but there's tons.
There sure are. And, it's funny. I don't want to go too far back in time, but it's like when I was up in Minneapolis, and it just happened to be, it wasn't because of me, but it just happened to be there when Minneapolis sort of became the darling of the entire ad community. And there were a couple different reasons for that. But what I found rather curious was I was a very young creative director there. And so I would have a whole bunch of Brian Dutkowski's come into town to show their portfolio. And I remember one gal in particular, I said, who else are you seeing? She's like, well, you're the third one I've seen here in Minneapolis, but then I'm heading out to Portland. And, as soon as somebody says that, well, that's Wyden and Kennedy territory. And at that time, they were just coming onto the scene. That shows you how old I am. And I asked her, I said, well, you going to see Wyden? And she's like, no. And I said, well, what's the damn special in Portland, So I think there's people out there. And so when you're in Waukesha, don't feel that somehow the water tastes better in Milwaukee or Chicago or New York or Raleigh or Salt Lake or whatever it might be. The good work is in essence where you make it. Denise is proof positive of that. Her husband was a superstar in Milwaukee ad circles, and could take a client that no one would have ever thought was going to amount to anything and fight for some good ideas. I'm maybe too much of a realist where occasionally, nope, this is a pig. I might be able to get a little lipstick on it, and that's about as good as it's going to go. But sometimes you would see something and it's like, you know what, this could be special.
Everything could be special.
Yeah.
You have to remember that. We were going to call it for a while there Silk Purse, because everything could be special, and we made it. It's what you make it. I mean,
Right.
it's what you put in it. And there are people who, kill it, bill it kind of mentality. And they're pretty successful, but you got to ask yourself in your heart, what's important to you? And when we were working together at Kohnke Hanneken, it was about the work. The work came first,
Sure.
period. Work came before how long of a day you had, whether you were working on the weekends, whether it was over budget. Well, the work came first. And as long as you had that as your, I'm going to call it an organizing concept, it's like, what's your mission, vision, values? What's important to you? I mean, the work came first, and you couldn't work there if you didn't believe it and live that. So,
One of the things I'm actually, Denise, I'd like to ask you on this is, to creatives, there's always a selfish thought and concern of, ooh, I could win an award and I can, all these sort of accolades, when presumably the reason why we are there is because we are helping these clients, our clients, to add to bottom line growth, add to their brand, add to their awareness, gain market share, any number of those sort of hardcore business concerns. When you guys were doing what you were doing there with you and Rich and others, did you find that clients naturally saw that the level of work that you were doing was good for them, or did you ever feel that you were doing it almost in spite of them?
clients came to us because of our work.
Right.
So if you get the agency that you deserve or you want, if you're a client. So if you don't give a shit, you'll get an agency that doesn't give a shit.
Right.
And if you care as a client, you'll get an agency that cares as a client. So you can't, like, a 10 client cannot work for a 5 agency.
Right.
And a 10 client can work, with a 10 or 9 agency. A 5 client can't work with a 10 agency. They don't align.
Yeah.
So you can find people that are good clients. And there's just as many kinds of agencies as there are just as many kinds of clients. So when we started hitting CA and a lot of the awards books, we started to get clients who called us and said, I saw you in CA.
Right.
Saw you in archive.
So it really became a marketing strategy early on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not like we were trying to win awards. We just did.
Yeah.
Because we cared.
Yeah. So here's some, and I'll shut up, Brian. Do you have any questions that are on your mind right now that either one of us can tackle in some way? Otherwise, I'll yap to another point.
You guys can keep yapping. It's just
Okay.
writing is the big thing I got to keep doing.
Well, I'm going to interview you just a little bit.
All right.
So I assume right now it even says on your Zoom, Brian Dutkowski, copywriter.
Wanted to make sure.
There you go. But it doesn't say senior copywriter or junior copywriter or copywriter extraordinaire. I assume you have got the generic copywriter title, but at least it's there.
I'm the only one here, so yes.
Okay. And so what does your job consist of mostly?
When I was brought on, I was told I was going to be writing everything. A lot of it now is proofing, editing, and a lot of brochure work.
Yep.
Long form. And then you guys obviously noticed digital world is overtaking everything. So a ton of just banner ads and short-term stuff like that.
Okay. So you got, just to get an idea of this agency, how many clients are you dealing with on a weekly basis?
30.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Now they could be as small as like Delafield, Wisconsin, where they're travel stuff.
Mhm.
So they're every quarter they've got an insert in the Travel Wisconsin magazine.
Okay.
They say they just need 100 words talking about winter and fall in Delafield.
Yep.
And so then I become a travel writer and talk about how great the leaves are. They're unlike any other leaves you've ever smelt, I promise.
Well, the leaves in Delafield are nice, so you've got something. At least you can work with it. I think we've had some clients where you're like, really, this is as good as it gets, huh?
Mm-hmm. But then, yeah, a
Um,
lot of industrial stuff too. So,
do you, I'm just going to call it a plum. Do you get any plums? Is there a project when you hear about it or a brief that's written that you say this really has me excited to do
but
better work?
we did stuff for Marcus. So the Pfister, St. Kate, all those places, those are a blast to write for because they were actual ads, like
Yeah.
printed ads that, at St. Kate you can kind of you can be fun with it.
Okay.
But then the stuff majority I'm doing right now is a lot of script writing, which is an animal that school does not teach you. So
Right.
it's kind of the opposite of that.
Now,
What kind of script writing are you doing? What kind of script writing are you doing?
So far, a lot of website, here's about our company, but don't tell us about our company, 2-minute videos. But then right now I've got a 30-second commercial they want to do for OAW. So I've got
Cool.
it is cool, except when it's the video guy I'm working with, he's this amazingly artistic guy, and he's like, okay, keep on going conceptual. Don't see what you can say without saying spine at all. Like, fuck, okay. So I've got a team here that's always pushing me,
good.
but it sucks because you guys probably know about it. I don't know when things are always done. Even when it's published, I'm like,
Right.
that should not have said that.
Yeah. 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 Sometimes collecting, things for your portfolio and whatnot. And here's the other thing though, too, is as much as you want the work to be quote unquote real, um, don't let good ideas go to waste. If you have got ideas for other things and put it together in a book, to me, if I'm looking at your portfolio, and typically, I don't know, Denise, what you have people do. Obviously, most people have got younger people have got a Squarespace or a Wix
Mm-hmm.
site or something like that, or maybe just have it, shown on their Instagram account. Um, and I just saw a kid not long ago who was from Concordia and had, unfortunately, the student book. Right, the only things that he put into the book were student assignments, and they looked like and sounded like and were student assignments as opposed to, okay, so what, one, if somebody gives you the student assignment, then let's do something with it. And I always go back to, there was a book from Bob Gill, not the guy that invented the font, but it was a turning point for me. I want to say, not unlike Denise wrote, all of the other marketing books are crap. This guy wrote something like, forget what you ever learned in advertising, like it's all shit. And he was a designer, mostly a poster designer. But the advice that he gave is when somebody gives you a boring problem, if you leave it as worded as a boring problem, you're going to come back with a boring answer. So if you want an exciting answer, an impactful answer, an interesting answer, solution, then you need to rewrite the question, right? So the agency or the client tells you, we need a new travel brochure for Delafield with the leaves. And we've already done 3 of those. Well, how else can we rework one? I reminded the other art director joke. It's like, how many art directors does it take to screw in a light bulb? Who says a light bulb? Right. So the point on sometimes is, who said that it has to be a brochure? Who said it had to be this other thing? Sometimes, yep, you bet it has to be that. But so change it around. It's not student work anymore. It is not the grunt work anymore. This is this job, and this is how I'm going to try to make it better, stronger for the client. And as Denise saying, if you do enough of that, all of a sudden the client is like, this guy goes above and beyond. And, you would only love to have a client pull back on the reins and say, whoa, we have our favorite line. We have some concerns about what you've created here. So, yeah, I just keep scribbling
Yeah.
napkins or something.
And one thing you mentioned was portfolio stuff coming to the site.
Yeah,
I'd love to just I've got a site too, put it in and just have people go in and be like, all right, what
yeah.
the hell, man?
So on the community, on the ad agency, there is that there's a spot in there for a portfolio or
Oh,
whatever.
you did? Okay.
Put a post, put a
Hmm.
couple of pieces. What I was going to say is, for me, I don't know about for you, Denise. I normally ask if somebody inquires, I say just send me 3 pieces. Just send me, and I try not to even put any qualifiers on it. I'll know in about a piece and a half whether they've got some talent. I'll know whether they know how to use Photoshop. I'll know I'll know those things. And if I'm amazed in 3 pieces, then I'll ask to see more. If I'm not, then thank you very much. And, I'll I'll be sure to keep your stuff in my file. But, so on ad agency, do that, and as we
Yeah.
get more people, I'm hoping more and more people will start to make commentary and actually make real commentary. My kids, I've got 4 adult kids, and when they were grade schoolers and middle schoolers and whatnot, and they're all very artistic and they're really talented today, but they would come up to me and say, "Dad, what do you think of my drawing or whatever?" And I would say, "Do you want me to answer as your dad or as the creative director?" And they're like, "What's the difference?" I said, "Well, if it's Dan, it's awesome, honey. It is fantastic." And then they would have courage enough to say, "Well, what would the creative director say?" Well, then I know I wouldn't slam them, but it would be like, "Why did you make that blue? Why did you choose to not draw any of the background? Why did And start getting what's in your head. What are you thinking about when you're doing this? You didn't think about kerning these letters at all? We were just going to go with souvenir. That was our plan. That was the plan from the start. You know, so that's the kind of stuff.
You're old, Mike. Souvenir.
I know, terrible.
You're old.
What do you want from people? If Brian said, "You know what, Denise, I'm I want to show you something. What do you want to see from him?"
It's kind of the same thing. Send me your
A
best
few
stuff.
pieces. Yeah.
But it's really more about, how can I put this? We've hired many people in many decades, and we don't, frankly, I've never said, okay, sure, send me your stuff. We have only, and I have only looked at people who endeavor to stand out. So when we had an office in the third ward, came in one day, and outside was a letter in a bottle, and it said, "Save me from Hack Island." We called her, we hired her.
Good.
That's all we needed.
Yep.
So it's not like you can just be normal. It's
Hmm.
not like you can do your resume like Cardinal Stritch said it, do your resume like this.
Yeah.
No, or wherever you came from. Um, you can't do that.
Yep.
We would throw it away. We wouldn't even look at it. So you have to break through. We were not that nice. It was very hard. We had lots of people that if we needed someone, there were a lot of people who wanted to work with us. So we never, I think like when we had Kohnke Hannikin, I think I ran one ad for someone, a media director. That was it.
Hmm.
Otherwise, people wanted to work for us
Sure.
and they wanted to get noticed by us. And a receptionist, I did put an ad in for a receptionist, and a guy came in and he had his portfolio with him, and he was an illustrator. And it was a guy, and it was a receptionist position. And I looked at his stuff, and it was so well done, so cool. Definitely new comic books, definitely new science fiction. Hired him on the spot as a receptionist. He turned out to be, I would say, I've known a whole lot of writers. he turned out to be one of the top 2 writers I've ever worked with.
No kidding.
And yeah, and then he went on to do, ACD stuff in Minneapolis, associate creative director stuff in Minneapolis, and now he's the chief creative officer client side. So, and we keep in touch, and he's super smart, and his stuff is smart, and you have to find a different way to break into this business. If you're trying to break in, if you're really good, try to find a different way, because it was very rare that we took meetings with people who asked, "Can you look at my book?" Or, "Can I send you some stuff?"
Well, I've done enough.
They had to go another mile.
Yeah, I've done enough internships both for the high school and some of the colleges that I get. It's not like it's all the time, but I'll put some people through the paces, and it's kind of, I think that's where this whole thing came from, because I started helping some kids, and I helped get 2 of them into SCAD, one into MyAd with scholarships and stuff like that, because they came in with, it wasn't dreck, but it was like you could see there was talent, but they just didn't know where to go, and nobody really had told them. I have to say though, UWM has been sort of hidden gems
Yeah, we
a lot of the time. Yeah, I've been very pleasantly surprised with the
my son went to UWM for
okay, because maybe they're your Avis, we try harder or something.
That's right. So the journey actually. So it started. I studied abroad in Australia, and I was like, I need to take a class so I can go to the beach after. And the one at 10:30 a.m. was an ad class taught by this German guy in Australia, and he was a CD at in Germany when they did the Volkswagen stuff, or for Volkswagen.
Sure.
And so he had this like passion that made me want to learn more.
Good.
And then that drew me into the ad world. And then from there I was like, okay, what classes do we have at UWM? Met Jackie Bradway and just loved it.
That's your story. That's what you write up. Here I was in Australia, and then you draw something that puts you there. I was taking classes that I could go to the beach at a certain time because I needed to catch the surf. So then one of those classes was this German guy. This is your opening letter. That's what you craft. Okay. This German guy who worked on Volkswagen, and he was so inspiring. And then I came back to find a program that fit me. I came to the United States. That's your resume. And if you include a little koala or something like that, like put it in a box,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that kind of shtick works, because we'd have to call you in. We would have to. We can't put you on a pile.
Look into it, yeah. Because what I just sent out maybe 2 weeks ago, so the Milwaukee Brewers, they were hiring for a copywriter.
Okay.
I got it, but then they said, well, actually, we just cut the budget. There's no position anymore. It's like, great, thank you. So instead of letting it,
but you got a little chit in the game, so I want to save that.
The Brewers were our account for 5 years. I worked on that account.
Okay, so then 2 weeks ago, I was like, this was like a year ago, was when they like hired me and then fired me really fast. It was great. I created this game plan or a game day promotion the theme was The Office, the show, and this 12-page document with just whole different aspects of how I would implement the show into the stadium. So it's this well-bounded thing. And I was like, well, I'm not just going to deliver it to them. So then I went out to FedEx, bought a ream of paper. Then I went into Photoshop and InDesign and designed a label that had Dunder Mifflin and the Brewers. Mm-hmm. Took out the paper, put my presentation in it, sent it over for them with a little pull tab. So that's what we're still waiting for right now.
Okay, great. Good luck.
That's what you have to do. I mean, that's expected. Mm-hmm. When you're working with an agency, if you're a client, that should be the best part of your day. That should be the most fun part of your day.
Because I guess I ask you guys this, the difference between published work and work you love in your portfolio. there are some things where it's like, you know what? Okay, I guess I did publish a TV spot, but if I don't love it, or if I'm like, this doesn't represent me well, should I have it in there at all?
I'm going to vote no. I'm going to vote you put the work you love that represents you the most.
Okay.
Even if no one, it's because everyone in our business at some level knows that kids breaking in don't do real work.
Mm-hmm.
So do the best work you can, do fake work.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's you, it represents you. That's the promise you make as your brand and the expectation that we would have that, all right, he's going to come in and he's going to do stuff like this, and he has the ability to, we can work with that. We can work with what he has and make it better. Because whatever you have is not good by our standards, because we've seen every great ad. We've studied these things.
Not that old.
We have what?
You're not that old. You haven't seen every great ad, right?
I've seen every great ad ever done. All of us have. So we know what's good, but you actually have to research the agency before you come in, because one agency might think it's a great thing and another agency might call it crap.
Everything's subjective, so ultimately that's where it's on you. I was told by my first creative director, you got 10 pieces, 10 slots, and your job from now until you're dead is to just keep making those 10 slots better. And so if you created something, whether it was for a real client or not, and now it's number 7, then put it number 7, and number 10 leaves. There's no magic number. Like I said, I kind of came to a thing when somebody wanted to, kind of catch me that I didn't know anything about them. I would be nice and say, send me 3 pieces. I can't tell you how many people never sent me anything, which is exceedingly stupid, but I understand why, because there's so many people out there who, if it's not perfect, I can't send it, right? And so they let perfect get in the way of the good. Maybe the best thing they could have done, maybe the best thing you could do is, all right, here's your 3 best. You say they're your 3 best pieces. The first thing I want to know, I'm going to take a look at them. Denise is going to take a look at them, and we may go, these 2. These are spot on. This 3rd one, I don't even know what the hell this is, right? So I've got this flaw, but I didn't understand it. So if I were talking to you, I'd be like, tell me about this 3rd one, right? What's behind that and why and all those things. And let's say it was a complete phony, and Denise and I saw it and instantly could tell this is fictitious client. So now I'm wondering, well, why did you choose it? Why did you choose the name? Why did you think you were fooling me? Was that the purpose, or no, it didn't matter? I remember I had a copywriter buddy of mine, and we were trying to be the team in Minneapolis together, and we didn't have enough good TV stuff in our book. And so we thought, well, we just got to at least write a shitload of scripts. And so we started thinking about, well, who would we write it for? And we started choosing, because, we wanted to choose real companies, real products, but we wanted to pick basically the ones that we thought were so shitty, right? Or it was so boring or so bad, right? Denise and I are old enough to know that before Chiat Day and Wyden and those guys came along and Nike became all there is to be in advertising, Nike was a cross-country running shoe company that nobody really gave a crap about. You didn't want Nike shoes. I wanted Converse shoes. I wanted Adidas shoes. And so Nike wasn't a thing until it's a thing. So we picked BF Goodrich tires. One tire is like every other tire. Could we make a spot that would make BF Goodrich look like $1 million? And, it's back to don't squeeze the Charmin, which is older than you are, I'm sure. But,
the Hey Whipple, yep.
There you go. Do we have to have cuddly bears with toilet paper stuck to their ass, or can we do something else? I don't know. I've never
Someone keeps
done that.
checking up on that though, so
I don't know. But it's funny when you go to any new shop and you're excited by it. I took an ACD job, the first ACD job I had. Their key client was General Mills up in the Twin Cities, and so they had like 10 or 20 of the better brands there, from Cheerios, Wheaties, the cereals to Hamburger Helper and Olive Garden and stuff like that. So I got working on all of that. But because I was the new guy, I was excited because it was General Mills and it was big budgets, and they put me on Honey Nut something or a Honey Nut.
Cheerios.
No, not Honey. That didn't exist yet. It was they used to have a little squirrel in the TV spot. It was like Honey Nut Oats or something. The cereal doesn't exist anymore. And people would around the office, they'd ask, "Well, what are you doing?" I'd say, "Yeah, I got this spot coming up," and they would chuckle. And I'm like, "Why are you chuckling?" He's like, "Everybody who's first in has to work on that account. It's just the worst, because it wasn't like going anywhere." But then I was like, well, nobody's done anything good with it, so can't we do something? So pick your battles and get after it. Hey, I'm gonna close this down here. I'm glad that you jumped on. I'm glad that you both did.
Yeah.
Hopefully, the next time around we'll get 6 or 8 or whatever. I am finally getting to the spot where the ad agency interior is getting more stuff there. We've got some really good interviews, some good clips, and some really good info that way. I am trying desperately to get the classroom stuff put together so that, Brian, yes, you can go up to your boss and say, "This is why I deserve a $6,000 raise."
that'd be double what I make now then. Great.
There you go. There you go.
Just kidding.
Moving up, moving up.
But yeah, I'll post my portfolio in there and you guys can
Do so.
tear it apart.
We will tackle it.
It's easy to edit.
We will be honest and maybe brutally so,
Mhm.
but it's all with a loving heart. So
I'll take it.
there you go. Well, hey, have a great weekend. We're going to call it right there. And I will, and thank you, Denise, for correcting I'm a terrible proofer. So I had both 4:30 and 3:30 down for probably like a month out there until Denise said, I don't know when to be on. So
Your first one was at 4 a.m. was your first.
yes, I think it was too. It's like,
We'll get it ironed out soon.
I can't be bothered with such, trifling things. All right. Hey, take care. Have a great weekend, and hope to see you more inside the ad agency.
Thanks, guys.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.